So let's rewind. Picture this. It's summer, the school year is over, and most kids are living their best lives. Not Harry Potter though. No. He's back at the Dursleys in that cramped little room at 4 Privet Drive, and honestly, things aren't much better than they were last year. See, Harry just turned 12, and it's his birthday. But as usual, the Dursleys forgot. Or maybe they didn't forget, maybe they just didn't care. Either way, there's no cake, no presents, not even a lousy happy birthday, muttered under their breath. Just silence and chores. Classic Dursleys. Now, if you remember the last school year, Harry discovered he was a wizard, fought off a troll, went up against you-know-who, and made some lifelong friends at Hogwarts. But here he is, back in the cupboard under the stairs life, locked away from the magical world. The Dursleys have even installed bars on his window and a cat flap on his door, so they can feed him without letting him out. No joke. But something weird happens that day. While the Dursleys are preparing for a big dinner party with Mr. Vernon's potential business partner, you know, someone he really wants to impress, Harry is lying on his bed, feeling miserable. And that's when he sees something off. A pair of huge green eyes staring at him from the bushes. Then, bam, this tiny elf-like creature appears in his room. His name? Dobby. And let's just say Dobby is intense. Dobby's got this high-pitched voice, floppy ears, and a habit of punishing himself whenever he speaks out of line. Like banging his head against the wall or slamming drawers on his fingers. It's like he's stuck in this loop of obedience and guilt. But he's here for a reason. To stop Harry from going back to Hogwarts. Now Harry's like, wait, what? Why wouldn't I go back? And Dobby's like, terrible things are about to happen at Hogwarts. If you go back, you're in danger. But when Harry presses him for more details, Dobby clams up. All he'll say is that there's a plot, a serious one, and Harry must stay away to be safe. But Harry's not the sit around and hide type. Hogwarts is the only place where he feels like he belongs. And besides, how dangerous could it really be? Frustrated that Harry won't promise to stay home, Dobby escalates things. He runs downstairs and uses magic to smash a cake right onto Mrs. Mason's head. That's Mr. Dursley's guest, and of course it looks like Harry did it. The Dursleys are furious. Magic is forbidden in a Muggle house, especially during summer break, and although Harry didn't cast the spell, the Ministry of Magic doesn't know that. He gets an official warning via owl post, saying if he does magic again, he'll be expelled from Hogwarts. Mr. Dursley takes this as the perfect excuse to trap Harry. He installs even more locks, nails the window shut, and proudly declares that Harry's not going back to that freak school. Days go by. Harry's cut off from everything. No Hedwig, his owl, no letters from Ron or Hermione, no idea what's going on in the magical world. He's starting to think maybe Dobby was successful after all. Maybe he won't be going back to Hogwarts. But then, in the middle of the night, salvation. Harry wakes up to see a flying car hovering outside his barred window. And inside, Ron Weasley and his 2 older twin brothers, Fred and George. They've come to break him out. They attach a rope to the bars on his window, yank them off with the car, and help Harry climb into the back seat. They even rescue Hedwig, who's been locked in her cage this whole time. It's chaotic, it's wild, and it's exactly the kind of rescue Harry needed. As the flying Ford Anglia zooms off into the night sky, Harry looks back at Privet Drive and feels something he hasn't felt in a long time: hope. They land at the Burrow, the Weasley family home, just before sunrise. And the place is magical. Not in the shiny and new kind of way, but warm, cluttered, and alive. It's a house full of magic, love, and chaos. There's a talking clock on the wall, dishes washing themselves, and gnomes running around in the garden. Mrs. Weasley is not thrilled that her son stole the car, but she's kind to Harry, like a real parent. Mr. Weasley, who works at the Ministry of Magic in the Misuse of Muggle Artifacts office, is more curious than angry. He's actually impressed by how well the boys flew the car. For the first time all summer, Harry feels like he can breathe. Over the next few days, Harry becomes part of the Weasley family. He helps degnome the garden, which is exactly what it sounds like, and learns more about wizard life in a few days than he did all of last year. Ginny, Ron's younger sister, is also home for the summer. She's starting her first year at Hogwarts soon, and she's got a massive crush on Harry, though she mostly avoids him and turns bright red whenever he's in the room. But the peaceful summer can't last forever. One day, the family heads to Diagon Alley to buy school supplies. They use Floo powder, this magical powder you throw into a fireplace that lets you travel through the Floo network. But Harry, in typical Harry fashion, messes it up. Instead of ending up at the leaky cauldron like the others, he crash lands in a creepy place called Nocturne Alley, filled with shady shops selling cursed items and dark artifacts. One of the shops, Borgin and Burke's, is run by a creepy guy who buys and sells dangerous magical objects. While hiding in a cabinet, which by the way is going to come back in a big way in later books, Harry overhears a conversation between Draco Malfoy's father, Lucius Malfoy, and the shopkeeper. Lucius is trying to discreetly sell some dark artifacts before the Ministry comes poking around. Harry can tell this guy's trouble. Thankfully, Hagrid, Hogwarts' lovable half-giant gamekeeper, finds Harry and gets him out of there before things get worse. They reunite with the rest of the Weasleys and together they go to get books and supplies. At Flourish and Blott's, the famous bookstore, there's a book signing going on. The guest of honor? Gilderoy Lockhart, a wizard celebrity known for writing wildly exaggerated autobiographies about his supposed adventures. He's charming, loud, and full of himself. Naturally, Lockhart sees Harry and decides to drag him into the spotlight for a photo op. He hands Harry a stack of his books and poses for the camera like they're best friends. Harry is mortified. Things get worse when Draco Malfoy shows up and starts throwing insults, particularly aimed at the Weasleys for being poor and having too many kids. But when Lucius Malfoy appears, things take a darker turn. He and Mr. Weasley have a tense confrontation, one that nearly turns into a duel right there in the bookstore. It's clear, Lucius is dangerous. The kind of wizard who hides behind money and old bloodlines, but isn't above doing dirty work himself. Eventually, the shopping trip ends and everyone prepares to head back to Hogwarts. But when the day comes to leave, Harry and Ron hit a major roadblock. The gateway to platform 9 3/4, the magical barrier at King's Cross Station, won't open. It's like someone sealed it shut just for them. Panicked that they'll miss the train, the boys make a reckless decision: take the flying car. They hop into the Ford Anglia, take off into the sky, and begin chasing the Hogwarts Express from above. At first it's exciting. They're laughing, they're flying, and they can even see the train below. But then disaster. The car starts acting up. The engine's failing, the invisibility booster glitches, and before they know it, they crash land into the Whomping Willow, a massive, violent tree that starts attacking them like it's alive. The car gets beat up, their wands are damaged, and the tree nearly crushes them. Eventually they escape, bruised and shaken. The car spits them out, drives itself into the Forbidden Forest, and disappears. Welcome back to Hogwarts. Except, not quite the warm welcome they expected. So, let's pick up right where we left off. A flying car crash, a very angry tree, and two extremely stressed out second-year students. Harry and Ron finally make it into the castle, late, muddy, and a little shaken, only to be caught immediately by Professor Snape. And let's be real, if there was one person thrilled to see them in trouble, it's him. Snape is practically glowing with fury. He drags them to his office and lets them have it. He's furious they risked being seen by muggles, furious they damaged school property, and honestly just furious they exist. He threatens expulsion, and you can tell he really wants it to happen. But Dumbledore shows up, along with Professor McGonagall, and thankfully they have more level heads. McGonagall is deeply disappointed, which somehow hurts even more than yelling would have. But instead of expelling them, she gives them detention and takes away house points. Fair but still brutal. Ron's wand, by the way, is now completely busted from the crash. It's patched together with spellotape and doesn't work properly, which is a running joke and problem all year. Now, with that drama behind them, Harry and Ron finally settle back into Hogwarts life. And everything should go back to normal. Right? Well, not quite. The year starts off weird. Really weird. There's this strange tension in the air. Something about the castle feels off. First, there's Gilderoy Lockhart. Remember him from the bookstore? He's now the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. And let's just say he's not exactly what he advertised. Lockhart is all smiles and self-promotion. He hands out signed photos of himself like candy and insists the students call him Professor. His first class is a total disaster. He releases a cage full of Cornish pixies, nasty little blue creatures, and they go completely berserk. Wreaking havoc, pulling hair, smashing glass, hanging Neville from the ceiling. It's chaos. And how does Lockhart handle it? He tells the class to round them up and runs away. The students are starting to realize Lockhart might be more fluff than substance. But for some reason he's convinced he's a mentor to Harry, always trying to give him unwanted advice on how to handle fame. It's awkward, uncomfortable, and hilarious. Meanwhile, things start to get creepier. One day, while heading back from a party, Harry hears something strange. A voice, a whisper, that no one else seems to hear. It's speaking in this chilling, slithery tone. Come to me, let me rip you, let me kill you. Harry's freaked out. Ron and Hermione don't hear a thing. They think maybe he's imagining it, or worse, that it's something dangerous only he can hear. And then, the first attack happens. They stumble upon a horrifying scene. Mrs. Norris, Filch's beloved cat, is hanging stiffly from a torch bracket, clearly petrified. Not dead, but frozen like stone. On the wall beside her, written in blood-red letters, are the words, "The Chamber of Secrets has been opened. Enemies of the air, beware." Everyone panics. The school buzzes with rumors. What's the Chamber of Secrets? Who opened it? Who's the heir? And what does this mean for the students? Dumbledore and the professors examine the cat. She's not dead, thankfully, just petrified. But still, it's serious. Someone used powerful magic to do this, and no one knows who. Filch is convinced Harry did it, mostly because Filch is always looking for a reason to punish students, and Harry was at the scene. But there's no proof, so Harry gets off the hook, for now. The trio does what they do best: investigate. Hermione dives into the books, trying to figure out what this Chamber of Secrets is. Eventually, they learn the legend. Hogwarts was founded by 4 powerful witches and wizards: Gryffindor, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, and Slytherin. But Salazar Slytherin believed only pure-blood wizards, those from all magical families, should be allowed at Hogwarts. He eventually had a falling out with the others and left the school. Before he left, Slytherin supposedly built a hidden chamber somewhere inside Hogwarts, a place only his heir could open. Inside the chamber, there was said to be a monster, one that would purge the school of Muggle-born students. Creepy stuff. And now it seems like the legend is coming true. The attacks continue. First it was the cat, then a student, Colin Creevey, is found petrified, camera clutched in his hands. Again, not dead, just frozen. But it's clearly escalating. Harry keeps hearing the voice. Every time it's cold, dangerous, and full of hatred. He's starting to feel like whatever this thing is, it's targeting him. Meanwhile, everyone has a theory about who the heir of Slytherin is. Some think it's Malfoy. He's certainly got the pure-blood attitude, and he's been unusually smug since the attacks began. Others whisper that it might even be Harry. After all, he's a Parselmouth. He can talk to snakes, a rare ability most associated with Salazar Slytherin himself. When this comes out during a dueling club hosted by Lockhart and Snape, which is as terrible as it sounds, the entire school freaks. Harry accidentally speaks Parseltongue to stop a snake from attacking another student, and suddenly everyone's looking at him differently. Even some of his classmates, people who used to admire him, now think he might be dangerous. But Harry, Ron, and Hermione don't give up. They decide to investigate Malfoy directly. And how do they plan to do that? With Polyjuice Potion. It's an advanced, illegal, and incredibly complicated potion that lets you transform into someone else for a short time. Hermione finds the recipe in a restricted section of the library, and they steal ingredients from Snape's private stores. Risky, but necessary. It takes a month to brew, and it's disgusting. They have to get hair samples from Crabbe and Goyle, Malfoy's goons, to transform into them. Hermione plans to turn into Millicent Bulstrode, another Slytherin girl. Everything goes okay. Ron and Harry successfully transform and sneak into the Slytherin common room. They find Malfoy and start asking subtle questions. Malfoy, of course, is more than happy to brag. He says he wishes he was the heir of Slytherin, but he's not. He doesn't know who is, and he's just as curious as everyone else. He talks about how his father wanted to shut the school down and how a girl died the last time the chamber was opened. So, no new answers, just more fear. And Hermione? Well, her transformation doesn't go according to plan. Turns out, the hair she plucked wasn't human, it was from Millicent's cat. And Polyjuice Potion doesn't work with animals. Hermione ends up in the hospital wing with fur, a tail, and whiskers. She's stuck there for weeks, mortified. As all this unfolds, the attacks don't stop. Justin Finch Fletchley is found petrified next, along with nearly headless Nick, a ghost. That's right, whatever's doing this is powerful enough to freeze even spirits. That's next-level magic. Hogwarts is starting to feel like a war zone. Students are afraid to walk the halls alone. Rumors swirl. The staff is tense. Dumbledore is clearly worried, but no one knows who's behind it or how to stop it. Harry, meanwhile, is feeling more isolated than ever. People whisper when he walks by. Some students avoid him altogether. Even the teachers are watching him more closely. Then one day, while walking through the corridor, Harry finds something strange, a diary. It's lying on the bathroom floor, soggy and worn, with the name T.M. Riddle written inside. There's nothing in it. Every page is blank. But something about it feels important. And Harry's instincts? They're usually right. Alright, so Harry's found this strange, battered old diary. No entries, no scribbles in the margins, just a name on the front, T.M. Riddle. Now, if you're Harry, you've learned by now that nothing just appears at Hogwarts by accident. A magical diary lying around in a bathroom? That's not just trash, that's a clue. So, naturally, he holds on to it. He tries writing in it with a quill, just to see. Nothing. Then one night, he tries again and something weird happens. The ink disappears like it's being sucked into the page. Then, right before his eyes, words appear on the paper, but not his own. The diary is writing back. It turns out this thing doesn't just store information, it talks. The diary introduces itself as belonging to Tom Marvolo Riddle, a former student at Hogwarts. Riddle tells Harry he knows all about the Chamber of Secrets, because he was there the last time it was opened. Riddle offers to show Harry what happened. And this is where things get really trippy. The diary pulls Harry inside a memory. Not like a dream, not like watching a movie, it's more like time travel. Harry's suddenly standing in Hogwarts 50 years in the past. He watches as a teenage Tom Riddle walks through the halls, confident, polite, a little too polished. The school is in chaos just like now. Students are being attacked and everyone is on edge. In the memory, Riddle goes to speak with Professor Dip-Pet, the headmaster at the time, and asks if he can stay at school over summer break. Dip-Pet refuses, says it's too dangerous. Later, Riddle is seen sneaking through the halls and eventually he confronts a teenage Hagrid. Yes, Hagrid, but younger and with much more hair. Riddle accuses Hagrid of keeping a dangerous creature at school, one that's responsible for the attacks. And then, just like that, the memory ends. Harry's yanked back into the present, heart racing. So, was Hagrid responsible? Is he the one who opened the Chamber of Secrets last time? It doesn't feel right. Harry knows Hagrid. He might love dangerous creatures, but he'd never try to hurt students. Still, the memory looks pretty damning. Riddle's version of events is crystal clear. Hagrid raised a monster, it attacked students, and someone died because of it. And that's the part that haunts Harry, the mention of a student who died. Because this isn't just about petrification anymore. There's a death in Hogwarts past that no one talks about. But before Harry has time to really unpack it, things go from bad to worse. More attacks happen. Hermione is found, petrified. Alongside her, a small mirror lies on the ground. That detail will be important later, but for now, it just makes the fear feel real. If Hermione isn't safe, who is? Dumbledore is forced to act. The pressure from the Ministry is growing and people want someone to blame. So what happens? Hagrid is taken to Azkaban. Yeah. Without a trial, without evidence, just based on old suspicions and fear. The Ministry sends Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic himself, to escort him away. It's awful. Hagrid tries to act strong, but you can tell he's terrified. Before leaving, Hagrid pulls Harry and Ron aside and whispers a final clue. If anyone wants to find out some stuff, follow the spiders. Cryptic? Yes. Creepy? Also yes. But it's the last thing he says before being dragged off by Fudge. And then, as if that weren't bad enough, Lucius Malfoy shows up, smug as ever. Turns out he's used his influence to get Dumbledore removed as headmaster. He claims it's for the safety of the students, but it's clearly personal. Without Dumbledore, Hogwarts feels leaderless. The light has dimmed. But Harry and Ron aren't giving up. Following Hagrid's clue, they head deep into the Forbidden Forest. At night. In the dark. And what do they find? Spiders. Lots of them. Crawling in a line deep into the woods. They follow the trail until they reach the lair of Aragog, a massive, ancient, talking spider. He's blind now but still terrifying. And guess what? He remembers the last time the chamber was opened. Turns out, Aragog was Hagrid's dangerous creature. But he wasn't the monster that attacked the student. Hagrid was just trying to protect him. Aragog says the real monster, the one inside the chamber, is something even spiders fear. They won't even speak its name. And then, to make things even more fun, Aragog casually announces that his children, giant, man-eating spiders, are going to eat Harry and Ron. Luckily, the enchanted Ford Anglia, the same flying car that saved them earlier in the year, bursts through the forest like a wild beast and rescues them. Yeah, it's still out there, living its best enchanted life. One of the weirdest, most heroic moments in the entire series. Back at school, things are grim. Another student has been taken, this time into the chamber itself. It's Ginny Weasley. Ron is panicked. His sister is missing. The teachers are planning to shut down the school. The only clue left behind is a chilling message. Her skeleton will lie in the chamber forever. Harry and Ron realize they have to act fast. And it's time to come clean with someone who might be able to help, Professor Lockhart. But here's the twist. Lockhart is useless. In fact, when confronted, he admits it. He's a fraud. All those amazing stories in his books? He didn't live them, he stole them. He found real wizards who did heroic things, erased their memories, and took the credit. The guy is all hair gel and no guts. When Harry and Ron barge into his office demanding help, Lockhart tries to run. But it's too late. They force him to come with them. With some clever deduction, thanks to Hermione's petrified but clever clue, the mirror and a torn-out page in her hand, Harry realizes what the monster in the chamber really is. It's not a spider. It's a basilisk, a giant serpent that kills with a single glance. That's why Hermione had the mirror. She figured out that the students weren't looking directly at it, which is why they were petrified, not killed. And Harry? He's the only one who can hear the basilisk. Because he's a Parselmouth, he can speak and understand snake language. The voice in the walls wasn't a ghost. It was the basilisk. Now that they know what they're dealing with, they just need to figure out where the chamber is. And the clue? Moaning Myrtle. Remember her? The ghost that haunts the girls' bathroom where Hermione found the diary? They ask her how she died. And she says it happened right there, in the bathroom. She heard someone speaking in a strange language, saw a pair of yellow eyes, and that was it. They inspect the bathroom carefully. One of the sinks has a tiny serpent etched into the tap. Harry speaks Parseltongue, and boom, the sink opens up, revealing a dark, slimy tunnel. This is it. The Chamber of Secrets. Harry and Ron head down into the tunnel. Lockhart, still pretending to be helpful, follows, but the second he gets a chance, he steals Ron's broken wand and tries to cast a memory charm on them to cover his tracks. But because the wand is busted, the spell backfires, spectacularly. Lockhart wipes his own memory and causes a tunnel collapse, separating Ron and Harry. Harry goes on alone. He walks deeper and deeper into the chamber until finally he finds Ginny, unconscious, pale and unmoving, lying on the cold stone floor. And standing over her is Tom Riddle. Not alive. Not a ghost. Something in between. A memory brought to life through the diary. So Harry's standing in the middle of this ancient, echoing chamber deep beneath Hogwarts, and everything about the place screams danger. There's Ginny Weasley lying motionless on the floor. Pale, cold, and completely unresponsive. And beside her, Tom Riddle. But this isn't the diary anymore. This is Riddle in full form. A strange, eerie version of a teenage boy who looks real, sounds real, but isn't quite alive. He's something else. Something magical. Dangerous. Harry runs to Ginny's side, shaking her, shouting her name. Nothing. She's fading and fast. Riddle just stands there, calm as ever. And then, slowly, he starts talking. Not taunting exactly, just explaining. But every word drips with cold calculation. He tells Harry that he is the one who's been opening the chamber. That it's his basilisk that's been attacking the students. That he is the one who possessed Ginny Weasley, using the diary as a kind of bridge between his memory and the real world. Ginny, poor Ginny, had been writing in that diary all year. Sharing her fears, her secrets, her thoughts. And Riddle had been writing back, comforting her, manipulating her, wrapping his invisible hands around her mind until he could control her completely. She was the one who painted the messages on the walls. She was the one who unleashed the monster. And she didn't even know it. Now her energy, her soul really, is being drained to keep Riddle alive. But here's where the real bomb drops. Harry asks, "Why? Why are you doing this?" And Riddle smiles. A cold, cruel, triumphant smile. He takes Harry's wand, Harry's own wand, and says something that changes everything. "I am Lord Voldemort." But it's not just a declaration. It's an anagram. He rearranges the letters in Tom Marvolo Riddle to spell out, "I am Lord Voldemort." This teenage boy, this smooth-talking, clever, manipulative memory, is none other than the young version of the dark wizard Harry thought he had defeated last year. This is where Voldemort began. Not as a monster, not as a legend, but as a student. Now Riddle's goal is simple: finish what he started. Kill Harry Potter, drain Ginny completely, and return to life, stronger than ever. But Riddle underestimated one thing. Harry isn't alone. Suddenly, a burst of light floods the chamber. A song echoes through the dark, beautiful, haunting, and from above, Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix, swoops down with a flash of fire. He drops something at Harry's feet, the Sorting Hat. And Riddle laughs. A bird in an old hat? That's the help Dumbledore sent? But Fawkes isn't just any bird. Phoenixes are creatures of incredible magic. Their tears have healing powers. Their loyalty is unbreakable. And oh yeah, they're not afraid of basilisks. Riddle, furious, speaks Parseltongue and calls forth the monster. And what emerges is terrifying. The basilisk slithers out from the shadows, enormous and deadly. Its eyes are enough to kill, so Harry shuts his own, stumbling blindly through the chamber. Fawkes attacks, clawing at the basilisk's face, slashing at its eyes, blinding the beast. It shrieks in rage, swinging wildly, but now it can't kill with a glance. The odds just got a little better. Then, the sorting hat comes through. Harry plunges his hand inside, and out comes something extraordinary, the sword of Godric Gryffindor. Silver, gleaming, ancient, and just sharp enough to kill a monster. In a final, brutal battle, Harry faces the basilisk head-on. He dodges, climbs, jumps, and with one massive lunge he drives the sword through the roof of the serpent's mouth, straight into its brain. The creature collapses. But not before one of its massive fangs sinks deep into Harry's arm. Venom is already rushing through his veins. His vision blurs. The pain is unbearable. He drops to the ground next to Ginny, the sword clattering beside him. Riddle thinks it's over. But then, Fawkes lands beside Harry. And with a single tear, a glowing golden drop, the wound begins to close. Phoenix tears, remember? They heal everything. Even basilisk venom. Riddle is furious, but Harry's not done yet. With the fong still in his hand, he grabs the diary. Riddle screams for him to stop, but it's too late. Harry plunges the fong through the diary's cover. Ink spurts out like blood. The pages curl and blacken. Riddle begins to twist, unravel, and vanish, screaming as his memory is destroyed. And then, silence. Ginny wakes up. Weak, confused, and terrified. She's alive, and she remembers everything. Harry comforts her, and together they find Ron, who's been trying to clear the collapsed tunnel with Lockhart, who still has no idea who he is or where he is, or why he's holding someone's wand backwards. The group climbs back up through the tunnels, dragging Lockhart with them. And when they get to the surface, they're met with cheers, tears, and relief. Dumbledore is back. And he knows everything. Back in his office, Dumbledore tells Harry that what he did took incredible bravery. The sword of Gryffindor only appears to a true Gryffindor, and Harry more than earned it. But Harry still has questions, big ones. Like, why can I speak Parseltongue? Does that mean I belong in Slytherin? Dumbledore's answer is perfect. He explains that it's choices that matter, not blood, not ability, not what some hat said years ago. Harry chose Gryffindor. He chose to fight for what's right. That's what defines him. And the diary? A powerful dark object, but only a piece of what Voldemort once was. It's the first time we really understand that Voldemort has left pieces of himself behind. Now, one more confrontation remains. Lucius Malfoy storms into Dumbledore's office, furious that Dumbledore's been reinstated. Harry steps up and confronts him, accusing him of planting the diary in Ginny's cauldron, using her to strike from the shadows. Lucius scoffs, denies everything, but he's rattled. And then, one of the most satisfying moments in the whole story, Harry pulls off a quiet little miracle. He hands Tom Riddle's destroyed diary to Lucius. But inside, he's hidden a sock. Lucius tosses it aside in disgust, right into the hands of Dobby, the house elf who's been standing silently by his master's side. And that's the trick. You see, giving a house elf clothes frees them. Lucius accidentally gave Dobby clothes. Dobby is free. And in a flash of absolute poetic justice, Dobby turns to Lucius and says, "You shall not harm Harry Potter." Lucius tries to attack, but Dobby snaps his fingers and blasts him backwards. Magic. Justice. Done. Harry thanks Dobby, and Dobby thanks Harry in return. His eyes full of emotion, his heart finally his own. Later, Ginny recovers, the students celebrate, and the castle seems to breathe again. The school is safe, the monster is gone, and exams are cancelled, which might be the most magical thing of all. On the train ride home, Harry sits with his best friends, knowing that another year at Hogwarts has ended, but this time with even deeper mysteries ahead. He knows Voldemort isn't truly gone. He knows the danger will return. But for now, there's laughter and chocolate frogs and a little peace, until next year. So after that whole Mandrake potting class chaos, life at Hogwarts doesn't exactly calm down. If anything, the tension just keeps building. Everyone's on edge. People are whispering in hallways, constantly glancing over their shoulders. The talk of the Chamber of Secrets is no longer some distant legend. It's real now, and it's starting to feel like anyone could be next. One afternoon, Harry, Ron, and Hermione are walking through the courtyard when they see a strange commotion near the library. Students are crowded around something, or someone. As they get closer, they see what the fuss is about. Another attack. This time it's Colin Creevey. The kid was trying to sneak into the hospital wing to see Harry, camera in hand as always, and he ended up petrified, still clutching his camera. It's unsettling. But what's even more disturbing? The film in the camera is completely melted, burned right through. McGonagall is pale. She quickly orders the students to step back, and Colin is carted away to the hospital wing. The professors are officially in damage control mode now. They know this is no longer an isolated incident. And the worst part? They still don't know who, or what, is behind it. Later that night, the trio huddles in the Gryffindor common room. Ron is convinced that Draco Malfoy is involved somehow. He's been too smug, too relaxed, almost like he's enjoying all of this chaos. Hermione, always the voice of reason, agrees they need to investigate but insists they can't just accuse people without evidence. And that's when she drops the idea, Polyjuice Potion. It's complicated, borderline illegal, and definitely not encouraged at Hogwarts, but it would allow them to temporarily transform into someone else. The plan? Sneak into the Slytherin common room disguised as Crabbe and Goyle and get the truth straight from Malfoy himself. Hermione immediately starts researching how to brew the potion. They'll need a place to brew it in secret, and she finds the perfect spot, Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Nobody ever goes in there, mostly because Myrtle, the ghost, is so perpetually miserable that even Peeves avoids her. It's perfect. Now, brewing Polyjuice Potion isn't something you can knock out in a few hours. It takes a month. And it requires some interesting ingredients. Fluxweed picked at the full moon, lacewing flies stewed for 21 days, and a bit of the person you want to turn into, like hair. Gross but essential. Meanwhile, Hogwarts feels more and more like a ticking time bomb. Filch is still furious about Mrs. Norris, Colin remains frozen in the hospital wing, and rumors about the chamber and the heir of Slytherin swirl faster than ever. And then things take an even stranger turn. One day during a dueling club meeting, yes, Hogwarts has a dueling club now because apparently that's what they think will help during a school-wide crisis. Harry ends up in a duel with none other than Draco Malfoy. It starts off pretty standard. One's out. Spells flying. A few show-off moves. But then Draco casts a spell that summons a snake, right there on the stage in front of everyone. The snake rears up, clearly ready to strike another student. People scream. Chaos erupts. But Harry, without thinking, steps forward and speaks to the snake. Not in English. In Parseltongue. He's speaking snake language. Out loud. In front of everyone. And in that moment something shifts. You see, most people can't speak Parseltongue. It's an extremely rare gift, usually associated with dark wizards. Like Voldemort. So when Harry speaks to the snake, the other students don't see a hero trying to stop an attack. They see something else. Something darker. Even Ron and Hermione look a little uneasy. The rumor mill goes into overdrive. Now it's not just, who's the heir of Slytherin? It's, is Harry Potter the heir of Slytherin? Harry tries to explain. He didn't even realize he was doing anything unusual. The snake was about to attack someone, he just wanted it to stop. But it's too late. The damage is done. And yet life goes on. The trio presses forward with the Polyjuice plan. They gather ingredients, brew the potion in secret, and finally, after weeks of prep, they're ready. Hermione, being Hermione, has everything under control. She's even stolen a few hairs from Millicent Bulstrode for her transformation. Ron grabs some from Goyle. Harry gets Crabbe. They each take a gulp of the thick, disgusting potion. Ron and Harry's transformations go according to plan, gross but effective. They now look exactly like Crabbe and Goyle. But Hermione? Something goes wrong. Terribly wrong. She refuses to come out of the stall. Eventually, she croaks that something's not right. Turns out the hair she used wasn't from Millicent Bulstrode, it was from a cat. And Polyjuice Potion isn't designed for non-human DNA. Hermione is now half-cat. Tail, ears, fur, the whole deal. She has to be rushed to the hospital wing and will be stuck there for weeks while Madame Pomfrey tries to reverse the transformation. But even with her out of commission, Harry and Ron push forward. They sneak into the Slytherin common room, posing as Crabbe and Goyle. They corner Malfoy and try to get information. Subtlety is not their strong suit, but Malfoy, being Malfoy, starts bragging anyway. He claims he's not the heir of Slytherin, but that he wishes he was. He talks about how his father told him the chamber had been opened before years ago, and how a student died. He's obviously fascinated by it all, but he doesn't seem to know who's behind the current attacks. It's a dead end, but also a relief. If Malfoy isn't the culprit, then maybe Harry can finally stop suspecting him. The potion wears off just in time, and Harry and Ron barely make it out of the Slytherin dorm without being caught. They rush back to Myrtle's bathroom, only to find Hermione still looking like a feline disaster. Back in the hospital wing, Hermione is mortified. But the mission wasn't a total bust. They know Malfoy isn't the heir. So now the question becomes, if not him, then who? But before they can dwell on that for too long, something even darker happens. Justin Finch-Fletchley, a Hufflepuff kid who had been openly nervous around Harry after the Parseltongue incident, is found petrified. And he's not alone. Nearly headless Nick, the ghost, is petrified too. Let that sink in. Whatever this monster is, it's now powerful enough to paralyze ghosts. That's not just terrifying, it's completely unprecedented. Of course, the news spreads like wildfire. And now, the whispers are turning into accusations. When the teachers arrive on the scene, they find Harry standing right there, again, next to the victims. It looks bad. Really bad. Harry is escorted straight to Dumbledore's office. And for the first time, he feels like he's truly in danger. Not just physically, but in terms of being misunderstood, judged, even expelled. Inside the office, he meets Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix. The bird bursts into flames right in front of him, which would be horrifying if Harry hadn't read about phoenixes spontaneously combusting as part of their life cycle. Still, not the most comforting timing. Dumbledore finally enters and sits across from Harry. The room is heavy with silence. And then Dumbledore asks the question Harry has been dreading. Is there something you'd like to tell me? It's a loaded question, and Harry thinks about it, about the voice he keeps hearing in the walls, about how everyone seems to be afraid of him now. But in the end, he says nothing. He just shakes his head. And Dumbledore, as always, doesn't push. But he does say one thing that sticks. You may have many qualities that make you similar to Voldemort, Harry, but it is our choices that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. And that kind of changes everything. So here we are. Things at Hogwarts have officially moved from weird to dark. Students are being petrified. There's fear in the air. The whole castle feels colder, more anxious. And Harry? He's caught in the middle of all of it, with everyone starting to look at him like he might be the cause. Let's rewind just a bit. After the dueling club fiasco, where Harry, much to everyone's horror, started speaking Parseltongue to a snake, he quickly learned that this is not a normal skill. It's rare. Creepy. And most importantly, it's associated with Salazar Slytherin himself. Yeah, that's Slytherin, the founder who wanted to keep Hogwarts pureblood only. Not a great look. So, even though Harry tried to explain that he was just stopping the snake from attacking Justin Finch-Fletchley, it didn't matter. Word spread fast. Now, half the school thinks he's the heir of Slytherin. Hermione, being the genius she is, decides they need facts, not rumors. So she proposes something bold, a polyjuice potion. Yep, the plan is to literally turn into Slytherins, specifically Crabbe and Goyle, so they can sneak into the common room and question Draco Malfoy, who's been acting a little too smug lately. Brewing this potion is no joke. It takes a month and it has to be done in the girls' bathroom. What? Because moaning Myrtle haunts it, and let's be real, no one else dares to go in there. So while Hermione is busy stealing ingredients from Snape's private stores, dangerous move by the way, Harry and Ron play distraction duty. The entire process is risky and complicated, but eventually, it starts coming together. They're on a timer though because the attacks are still happening. The next major incident? Colin Creevey. Colin, Harry's biggest fanboy, ends up petrified just outside the hospital wing, his camera still clutched in his frozen hands. That's when Dumbledore says something chilling. The Chamber of Secrets has indeed been opened again. Notice that again. This isn't new. Something similar happened years ago. Eventually, Christmas break rolls around and the school empties out, except for Harry, Ron, and Hermione, who are staying behind to execute their polyjuice plan. And finally, the potion is ready. Hermione, being overly cautious and meticulous, goes last. Harry and Ron transform first. It's disgusting. Like, imagine your bones twisting and stretching, your voice dropping or rising, and your reflection completely changing. That's what happens. Harry becomes Goyle and Ron becomes Crabbe. They make their way to the Slytherin common room, acting clueless and grunty, which actually helps them stay in character. Inside, they find Malfoy lounging around, more than happy to gloat about how mudbloods are getting attacked. But when they press him on whether he is the heir of Slytherin, he flat out denies it. Malfoy says he wishes he was the heir, but he has no idea who's behind the attacks. All he knows is that last time the chamber was opened, a mudblood died. That's big. It's the first time we get confirmation that this thing has happened before, and that it was deadly. Back in the bathroom, Hermione isn't looking too good. Turns out she accidentally used a cat hair in her potion, and polyjuice doesn't work for animal transformation. So now she's Kinda cat Hermione. Tail and all. She'll be stuck in the hospital wing for a while. But despite the botched ending, the mission was a success. They now know Malfoy isn't behind it. Then something strange happens. Harry stumbles upon a mysterious diary in the flooded bathroom where Moaning Myrtle hangs out. It's completely blank, no writing inside. But it feels weird, important, magical. And it is. Harry discovers that when he writes in the diary, it writes back. Yeah, it's like a magical notebook with its own voice. The diary belongs to someone named Tom Riddle. And through their back-and-forth writing sessions, Riddle eventually shows Harry a memory, like a full-on magical flashback. Suddenly, Harry's in the Hogwarts of 50 years ago, watching a younger Dumbledore and a student version of Tom Riddle talking to the headmaster. A student has just died, and Riddle is determined to stay at Hogwarts over the summer. But he also wants to protect the school. In this memory, Riddle follows another student, Hagrid, and accuses him of keeping dangerous creatures. Then there's a massive explosion of blame. Hagrid, clearly younger and already obsessed with monsters, is accused of opening the Chamber of Secrets. And that's the memory Harry sees. When he snaps out of the diary vision, Harry is stunned. Could it be? Could Hagrid really have done it? Ron doesn't buy it. Come on, Hagrid's harmless, he says. He couldn't hurt anyone. Still, Harry can't shake what he saw. Around this time, something even worse happens. Hermione, brilliant, unstoppable Hermione, is found petrified in the hallway. That's when it really hits. This is no longer a mystery, it's a full-blown crisis. If Hermione isn't safe, no one is. With her out cold, Harry and Ron are completely on their own. But Hermione, ever the planner, leaves behind a vital clue, a piece of paper clutched in her hand. It describes a creature called a basilisk, a giant serpent whose stare kills. Suddenly, everything starts to click. The petrifications? That's because no one looked the basilisk directly in the eye, they saw it through mirrors, cameras, or reflections. The pipes? That's how it's been moving around undetected. And who can hear voices in the walls? Only Harry. Because he speaks Parseltongue. It's all adding up in the worst possible way. But before Harry and Ron can act on this discovery, they're caught trying to sneak into the hospital wing. They're dragged to McGonagall's office, who, surprisingly, doesn't punish them. Instead, she tells them something chilling. Another student has been taken into the chamber. And this time it's Ginny Weasley, Ron's little sister. Everything changes. No more rumors. No more theories. The school is shutting down. Dumbledore is gone. And Harry and Ron are the only ones who even have a clue about what's going on. With the castle in lockdown, they do the only thing they can, visit Hagrid. But Hagrid is already in trouble. He's being taken away to Azkaban without proof, just suspicion. Before he leaves, he drops a coded message, follow the spiders. Spiders? Not exactly comforting. But that's exactly what they do. Into the Forbidden Forest they go, Ron screaming the whole way because he's terrified of spiders, and eventually they come across Aragog. Aragog is no ordinary spider. He's enormous, ancient, and apparently he was the creature Hagrid raised 50 years ago, the one that got him expelled. But here's the thing, Aragog didn't kill that girl. He says the true monster is something even the spiders fear. A creature that lives in the dark, and speaks the language of snakes. So now it's confirmed, Hagrid was innocent all along. The real monster is still in the school. But just as they figure this out, the spiders try to eat them. Thank Merlin for the flying car. It crashes through the trees and rescues them just in time, like a mechanical guardian angel. Back at the castle, the pressure is on. Time is running out. Ginny's life is hanging by a thread. And that's where we'll pick up next. Alright, deep breath. Because this is where everything accelerates. Ginny's been taken. The Chamber of Secrets is open. The school is in lockdown. Dumbledore is gone. Hagrid's in Azkaban. And Harry and Ron? They're basically two kids standing at the edge of something enormous and terrifying, and for the first time they realize no adults are coming to fix this. It's up to them. Now let's rewind just a hair. The last thing Hermione did before being petrified was leave behind that page about the basilisk. That clue, combined with the trail of spiders and their encounter with Aragog, gave Harry and Ron everything they needed to understand what was happening. The creature in the chamber is a basilisk, a monster that kills with a stare. But every victim so far has only been petrified, not killed, because they didn't look directly at it. Through water, through mirrors, through cameras. Even nearly headless Nick, he got the full stare, but being a ghost saved him from death. But that raises a new question. How is this thing even getting around the school? That's when Harry pieces it together. The voices he's been hearing in the walls aren't just creepy, they're real. He's been hearing the basilisk slithering through the plumbing. That's how it's moved around unnoticed through the pipes. Suddenly everything fits, and it's horrifying. But there's no time to dwell, because Ginny's still down there, somewhere, alone. So Harry and Ron go straight to Professor Lockhart, who, let's be honest, has been useless all year. But now he's claiming he knows exactly where the chamber is and that he's going to go rescue Ginny himself. Right, sure you are. But here's the twist. When Harry and Ron confront him in his office, they catch him mid-pack. He's not going to save anyone, he's trying to skip town. And worse? He admits that all those stories he's told about his heroic deeds were lies. He never fought monsters or saved villages. He just stole other wizard stories and wiped their memories afterward. And now, he's planning to do the same to Harry and Ron. But they're not having it. Wands drawn, they force Lockhart to come with them, and that's when they head back to Moaning Myrtle's bathroom. Because if anyone knows anything about mysterious bathroom-based magic, it's Myrtle. And she does. She tells them she died right here in this stall. She heard a boy speaking in a strange language, and then saw big yellow eyes before everything went black. Boom. Harry searches the area and spots a small snake symbol carved into one of the taps. When he speaks Parseltongue to it, the sink shifts, and reveals a massive pipe leading deep into the ground. They've found the entrance. With zero hesitation, Harry slides down. Ron and Lockhart follow, Lockhart reluctantly of course. What they land in is dark, damp, and ancient. The tunnels are filled with bones. It's quiet in the way caves are when something dangerous lives inside. And then, disaster. Lockhart seizes his chance. He grabs Ron's wand, tries to cast a memory charm, and it backfires. Spectacularly. Because he's using Ron's busted wand. The explosion collapses the tunnel, knocks Lockhart out cold, and separates Ron from Harry. So now it's just Harry, alone, going deeper into the chamber to face whatever's waiting. He walks into a vast, echoing chamber filled with serpent statues and ancient stone. And there, at the center of it all, lies Ginny. Well, unmoving. Standing over her? Tom Riddle. Now at first, Riddle seems calm. Polite even. He talks to Harry like someone watching a chess piece try to figure out it's already in checkmate. He says he's been talking to Ginny all year, through the diary, feeding on her thoughts, her fears, her secrets, and now, she's dying. Because he's been draining her life to make himself strong again. See, Tom Riddle isn't just some student from the past. He is the past. A memory, yes, but one that's becoming real again. And then comes the twist. Tom Riddle is Voldemort, a younger version. Before he became the monster with no nose and a snake for a soul. Back when he still used his birth name. And here's the most chilling part. He manipulated Ginny, made her open the chamber, made her unleash the basilisk, made her write those creepy messages on the walls, and she didn't even remember doing it. Harry obviously is furious, but Riddle's just intrigued. He's been curious about Harry for a long time. Wants to understand how a baby could defeat the Dark Lord. And here in this ancient chamber with no teachers, no Dumbledore, and no backup, it's the perfect time to finish what Voldemort started. He summons the basilisk. A thunderous rumble. The sound of scales scraping ancient stone. And then out of the statue's mouth, the creature slithers, massive, hissing, deadly. Harry runs. He can't look directly at it. He's ducking behind columns, blindly swinging his wand. But just when all hope seems lost, Fawkes arrives. Dumbledore's phoenix. He drops the sorting hat at Harry's feet, and immediately pecks the basilisk's eyes out. The beast is still deadly, but now Harry can fight without being petrified. And out of the sorting hat, the sword. The sword of Godric Gryffindor. That's all Harry needs. In a brutal, desperate fight, he drives the sword through the basilisk's mouth, straight into its brain. But not before one of the fangs pierces his arm. Poisoned. Dying. But phoenixes, as it turns out, have healing tears. Fawkes cries into the wound. The venom stops. Harry lives. Now he turns to the diary, the source of all this. And with the basilisk fang still in hand, he stabs it. Black ink spills out like blood. Riddle screams. And vanishes. Ginny wakes up. The memory is destroyed. Voldemort, at least this version of him, is defeated. Fawkes flies them all back to the surface. Harry, Ron, Ginny, and even the amnesiac Lockhart, who's now completely confused about who he is. Back in Dumbledore's office, everything becomes clear. The diary was a Horcrux, though we don't learn that word yet. Just know it was a piece of Voldemort's soul, kept alive through dark magic. That's why it could think, speak, manipulate. Ginny is safe. The school is saved. And Dumbledore? He's back. And proud. But he also says something Harry never forgets. It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. Because yeah, Harry can speak Parseltongue. Yeah, he pulled the sword from the hat. But it's not because he's like Voldemort. It's because he chose not to be. And in the end, that's what matters most. So, the monster is dead. The girl is safe. The diary is destroyed. Everything should feel triumphant, right? But there's still that strange silence after a storm. The kind where you're not sure what just happened or what it meant. Let's break it down. After the battle in the chamber, Harry and the others are flown out by Fawkes, Dumbledore's phoenix, who somehow always shows up at the exact moment he's needed. They return to Hogwarts battered, exhausted, and honestly, pretty traumatized. But when they reach Dumbledore's office, there's warmth. Not scolding. Not panic. Just understanding. Because Dumbledore knows. He knows what it costs to face something ancient and evil with nothing but your courage. And your choice. Harry explains everything. The diary, Tom Riddle, the basilisk. And Dumbledore listens, quietly, like he's adding puzzle pieces to a picture he's been assembling for years. And then he says something that stops Harry cold. You possess many of the qualities that Voldemort himself values. Determination, resourcefulness, and, if I may say so, a certain disregard for the rules. And Harry immediately panics. Wait, what? He's like Voldemort? He can speak Parseltongue. The Sorting Hat nearly put him in Slytherin. Now this? But Dumbledore, always the anchor in these storms, calmly explains. Yes, Harry and Voldemort share a connection. But it's not because Harry is like him. It's because Voldemort passed something on to Harry when he tried to kill him as a baby. Something unintentional. Something dark. But Harry made a choice. He chose Gryffindor. He chose to protect Ginny. To risk his life. And the sword he pulled from the hat? Only a true Gryffindor could have done that. In a world obsessed with bloodlines, destinies, and prophecies, Dumbledore says the quiet truth no one else will say. It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are. And that lands hard. Now let's take a quick detour because justice is about to be served, with flair. Lucius Malfoy storms into Dumbledore's office, absolutely furious that Dumbledore is back. He's been pulling strings behind the scenes all year, pressuring the school board, spreading fear, manipulating things to his advantage. And right beside him, Dobby, the house elf who's been trying all year long in his own chaotic way to protect Harry, warning him, sabotaging him, trying to save him from danger, even if it meant getting punished over and over again. Now Harry realizes the full picture. Dobby serves the Malfoys, and it was Lucius Malfoy who slipped the diary into Ginny's cauldron back in Diagon Alley. He planted the weapon. He used Ginny as a pawn to bring down the school and discredit Dumbledore. Lucius doesn't deny it. He just sneers. And here's where Harry does something that Dumbledore would never dare. Something small but revolutionary. After Lucius storms out, Harry takes the destroyed diary, wraps it in one of his socks, and hands it to Lucius, saying, I think this belongs to you. Lucius rips the book open and tosses the sock away. But Dobby catches it. And that's the rule. If a house elf is given clothing, they're free. Lucius is stunned. Furious. But it's done. Dobby is free. And in that moment, Harry doesn't just defeat a monster. He breaks a cycle. Of fear. Of power. Of slavery. And for the first time, Dobby stands tall and says, Dobby is free. It's such a small act. But it means everything. Because magic can break bones, sure, but choice breaks chains. After that, things shift. The school reopens. Students wake from their petrification. Ginny recovers. Exams are cancelled, thank Merlin. And there's this sense of joy again. Laughter. Relief. Even Hagrid returns from Azkaban to a standing ovation. But let's not pretend everything's fixed. There are cracks now. In Harry. In his understanding of the world. He's seen what's possible, both the dark and the light. He's faced a version of Voldemort and survived again. Not because he's the chosen one, but because he chose to fight. Even when it looked hopeless. Even when no one was watching. That's what makes him different. The train pulls away from Hogwarts and the trio, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, sit by the window, the landscape rolling by in gold and green in quiet peace. They joke. They laugh. But there's something more mature in them now. They've crossed through something. And they're not the same. Not kids anymore. Not exactly. Just growing. So the second year at Hogwarts ends. Everyone's safe. Smiles return. Hagrid is back. Even Peeves is singing a victory song. But you and I both know, This story wasn't just about a snake in the pipes, or a cursed diary, or some spooky messages written in blood. This story was about something much deeper. Something that, honestly, no one really talks about enough. Identity. The second Harry steps back into the wizarding world, he's already being questioned. Not for what he's done, but for what he might be. Why is he a Parselmouth? Shouldn't he have been in Slytherin? How come weird stuff always happens around him? Even Harry starts to ask these questions himself. That's what the Chamber of Secrets really represents. It's not just a literal chamber beneath a castle. It's a metaphorical one too. The dark, buried questions we carry about who we really are. And here's the scary thing. Those chambers live inside everyone. Tom Riddle, he opened his. He looked inside and decided to become something terrifying. Harry? He looked inside too. He saw the same powers, the same potential, but he made a different choice. That's the heart of this whole chapter. When you're given reasons to doubt yourself, when the world tells you what you might become, you still get to decide who you are. Let that sit with you for a second, because it's powerful. And now let's talk about another huge theme, power and influence. Lucius Malfoy never cast a curse, never unleashed a monster, never held a wand to anyone's neck, but he almost brought Hogwarts to its knees. Oh, through suggestion, manipulation, social pressure, fear. Lucius is the kind of villain that doesn't yell or shoot fireballs, he whispers in the right ears. He plays chess while everyone else is playing checkers. And here's the thing, this type of power is very real in the world we live in. Some people use authority to inspire. Others? They use it to control. And oftentimes, those who speak the softest carry the most dangerous intentions. That's what makes Lucius so chilling. Because while Harry is battling monsters underground, Lucius is moving the pieces above. And no spellbook teaches you how to fight that kind of dark magic. And speaking of influence, let's go back to Dobby. This tiny, twitchy creature, afraid of his own voice, still tries to act against his cruel masters. He's terrified, sure, but he does it anyway. And that's bravery. Not wand duels or sword fights. It's speaking up when you know you'll be punished. It's warning someone because it's right, not because it's safe. Dobby represents all the unseen people in our world, the ones who suffer quietly, who are used, stepped on, forgotten. But even he finds a way to break free. Because one boy decided to show him kindness. One sock changed everything. It's silly, but it's real. Sometimes the smallest gesture, an act of generosity, of care, can create ripples that undo generations of cruelty. Now let's pull back for a second and talk about the diary. Because this wasn't just a cursed object. It was a seed, a test. Voldemort wasn't fully back yet, but this diary was the first sign of his return. And it introduced something we'll see again and again and again. The idea that pieces of the past can haunt the present. Tom Riddle may have been 16 when he enchanted that diary. But that version of him, the charming, cold, manipulative boy, is frozen in time. Waiting. Watching. And when Ginny pours her heart into the pages, her fears, her feelings, her secrets, he grows stronger. Because that's what darkness does. It feeds on insecurity. On self-doubt. Ginny didn't open the chamber because she was evil. She did it because she was lonely. And the diary listened. This is dangerously real. In our world too. We're surrounded by echo chambers. Algorithms. Places and people that say, tell me everything, but really just want to control the narrative. The diary shows us that influence isn't always loud. Sometimes it's subtle, soft, patient. And by the time you realize it's taken over, it's almost too late. So now that the chamber is closed, let's not pretend we're back to normal. The truth is, the scars are still there. Not just the physical ones, the emotional ones. Harry now knows there's a connection between him and Voldemort. He knows his life isn't going to be easy or fair. He knows the world isn't as simple as good guys and bad guys. And that knowledge, it changes you, but it also arms you. Because now he's seen it. The manipulation, the cruelty, the doubt. And he's still standing. That's how growth works. Not all at once. Not in some grand explosion of realization. It's piece by piece. Like pulling yourself out of a tunnel, one rock at a time. So when that train leaves Hogwarts at the end of the year, it's not just carrying students back to their families. It's carrying kids who've faced death, betrayal, injustice, and survived. It's carrying stories. Stories they'll tell years later. And for Harry, it's carrying one more thing. Understanding. He's not just a boy who lived. He's a boy who chose to live, with everything that choice entails. Let's take one last walk through the Chamber of Secrets. Because now that the mystery is solved, the monster slain, and the school saved, it's time to ask the deeper question. Why does this story matter? Not just for Harry, not just for Hogwarts, but for us. Because Chamber of Secrets is more than a middle chapter in a magical series. It's the first real test of everything Harry and we believe about good and evil, power and choice, identity and legacy. Let's break it down. First, let's talk about the quiet power of choice. Dumbledore says it best. It is our choices, Harry, that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. And that line, it hits different the older you get. Because think about it, Harry could have been in Slytherin. The hat wanted him there. He could speak Parseltongue. He shared a connection with Voldemort. He had power, influence. But every step of the way, Harry chooses love over fear, truth over secrecy, courage over cruelty. Even when no one's watching. Even when people are doubting him. And that's the real magic. Not wands or potions, but character. The ability to stand in a dark room and light a fire anyway. Next, let's talk about systems versus individuals. This story quietly shows us how broken the wizarding world really is. A girl is possessed by dark magic and no one notices for months. A student is wrongly blamed and sent into isolation. Again. A teacher is hired for clout, not competence. And a house elf, enslaved, abused, is punished for trying to help. The ministry doesn't help. The school's leaders hesitate. The adults argue. And through it all, it's kids, 12-year-olds, who solve the mystery. That's not just a plot device. It's a commentary. Institutions often fail. Authority figures aren't always wise. And sometimes the people doing the most good are the ones no one believes. That's powerful. And it's real. Now let's take a moment to talk about secrets. Because Chamber of Secrets isn't just a catchy title. It's the entire theme. Everyone is hiding something. Ginny hides the diary. Riddle hides his name. Dobby hides his warnings. Hagrid hides his pain. Even the castle hides its deepest chamber. But secrets have a cost. They isolate. They fester. They grow into monsters, literally and metaphorically. And the only way to destroy a secret is to face it head on. That's what Harry does. He walks into the chamber, alone, armed with nothing but loyalty, trust, and a sword he doesn't even know how to use. And that, right there, is the message. You don't need to be perfect to confront darkness. You just need to show up. And now, let's not ignore the big question this book introduces. What makes someone truly evil? Tom Riddle doesn't seem scary at first. He's clever, polite, charming. He doesn't yell or threaten. He just listens and manipulates. But by the end we see it clearly. Evil isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, reasonable, almost seductive. And that's why it's dangerous. Because it sneaks up on you, makes you second-guess yourself, makes you feel like the problem. Harry doesn't defeat Riddle because he's stronger. He wins because he knows who he is. He's already asked the hard questions and chosen his path. That's what evil can't stand: clarity, conviction, truth. So what is the Chamber of Secrets really? It's a metaphor for everything we bury. The voices that say we're not good enough. The wounds we pretend don't hurt. The doubts that whisper, what if I'm not who I thought I was? And this story reminds us, those things don't go away by ignoring them. You have to descend. You have to confront them. You have to bring a light into the dark. And when you do, you come out changed. Not because the darkness is gone, but because you're no longer afraid of it. So yeah, this book might not have the flashiest villain, or the most epic finale, but it's the first time Harry truly faces himself. It's the first time he realizes, magic can't solve everything. People are complicated. And sometimes the scariest monsters aren't beasts at all. They're the shadows inside us. But there's always a way forward. Through loyalty, through friendship, through courage, and sometimes through something as simple as giving a house elf a sock. When that train pulls away at the end of year 2, it's not just taking kids home for summer. It's carrying the quiet weight of everything they've learned. That what you do matters more than what you're born as. That secrets lose their power in the light. And that even when the system fails, you don't have to. Because bravery isn't just running into danger. It's choosing to be yourself, even when the world tries to make you doubt who that is. And that's what the Chamber of Secrets really is. A story about identity. About silence. About speaking up when your voice shakes. It's not just about Harry Potter. It's about all of us. The chambers we've built. The monsters we've fed. The truth we've buried. And the choice, always the choice, to open the door anyway.